Hello, everyone, and welcome to our another insightful episode of the DataBulls podcast. I'm Demre, and I'm excited to delve into one of the most critical topics shaping the manufacturing industry today: threat-informed defense and proactive strategies in manufacturing. Cybersecurity has never been more crucial, particularly in manufacturing, where the stakes are higher than ever. The rise of ransomware and phishing attacks and insider threats has shown us that cyber resilience is no longer optional. It is essential. And today we are not only going to explore these threats together, but also the strategies and tools organizations need to stay ahead of the curve. And I'm thrilled to be joined two incredible gentlemen today. First, our co-host Gokhan Polat and Dr. Tim Sattler. And I would like to give you the floor, gentlemen, and tell our guests briefly about yourself.
Tim, if it is available, first I start, then you can go on. I'm Gokhan Polat, the co-founder of DataBulls, also active member of ISACA, and I'm very happy now we are hosting Tim because for several times we met with Tim face-to-face and asked him to host him in our podcasts. And in last time in Dublin, we met in ISACA Digital Trust Europe conference. Some of my friends from other chapters told me that you can start a podcast session and meet with us and provide some questions we can answer. Then you can also connect us with other ISACA communities, and I guess it will be second in this context. Tim will be our second guest. First was Ramses. Thanks, Ramses also attended our podcast. I am very pleased to now host Tim. Please, Tim, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. My name is Tim Sattler. I'm the CISO of a manufacturing company based in Germany called Jungheinrich. We are a manufacturer of material handling solutions, mostly known for our forklift trucks. Roughly 21,000 employees, 5.5 billion euro revenue, operating in over 40 countries worldwide, and also have manufacturing plants in different countries like Germany, the Czech Republic, but also China, for example. So basically, yeah, we're all over the world with a strong base in Europe, which may also be a topic later when we discuss about this too. Originally, I've studied physics, but then after my PhD, I changed to information security. That was almost 25 years ago, so I'm pretty long in this area. And since 2012, I'm with my current employer. As a CISO, I have a small team of 10 people at Jungheinrich. So we are more or less the second line of defense at our company. So we run our certified ISMS. We are ISO 27001 certified. We have a TISAX label for our automotive customers, but we're also responsible for supplier risk management, for security awareness, for the OT security, and many, many other topics. And as Gokhan already mentioned, I'm also very active in ISACA, one of the major professional associations in the information security management space. I'm currently the president of the Germany chapter of ISACA, but also active on the international level, for example, in various working groups for the certifications that ISACA offers. Maybe that's it for the start.
Tim, we have a question for you. As we see, there are lots of legislations now going active in Europe and defining information technology and cybersecurity governance for the organizations. and there's a NIS2. What do you think about it? How will NIS2 affect the companies?
So yeah, NIS2, as the number already says, is a the successor to NIS1. NIS1 was a legislation for the critical infrastructures, and with NIS2, this scope has considerably widened. So there are additional sectors that are now affected by this legislation, including the whole manufacturing industry. So, for example, in Germany alone, people estimate that there will be 30,000 more companies affected by this legislation, which, of course, for many, especially smaller companies, will be quite a challenge. I think for companies like ours, it's not so much a change because we are already ISO 27001 certified, so we have our risk management measures in place. Especially for the smaller companies, also for many of our suppliers, it's going to be quite a challenge. In addition, NIS2 is not the only legislation that we have at the moment coming from the EU. There is also the Cyber Resilience Act, which is important for manufacturers of digital products. And since we're also on the manufacturer side, that also affects us.
So may I ask, at that point, I want to ask a question to Tim. So he specialized in manufacturing sector. So under the NIS2 directive, manufacturing has emerged as a key focus area due to its increasing reliance on interconnected systems and industry 4 technologies, right? And this has made the sector more vulnerable to cyber threats, with a notable trend being an integration of cybersecurity, which measures directly into the operational technology frameworks, right? The directive emphasizes risk management, maybe like in incident reporting and supply chain security, and pushing manufacturers to adopt more robust systems to ensure the compliance and resilience, right? So as a professional, what do you think are the biggest challenges manufacturing companies face in aligning their operational technology environments with NIS2 compliance requirements, and how can they effectively address them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting the OT side on board is really a huge challenge. Also, we only started our OT security program only several years ago, so there's still a lot of work to do. Traditionally, the OT's part has been very separate from the IT world, and only now it's growing together. And so there are specific challenges on the OT side. For example, you have systems that run for decades rather than years. So you have sometimes very old operating systems on the OT side. You have systems that need to run in real time, so very sensitive to any factors that might disturb these systems. So even running a vulnerability scanner, for example, in a OT environment can be really risky, because it might also affect the machines. So there are a lot of issues. And traditionally, we try to segment these networks as much as possible to really separate them from the IT world. But also now the processes on the OT side and the IT side are going more and more together. So that is quite a challenge for most companies, also because there are not too many OT security experts out there on the market. Yeah, you find a lot of, or not, actually not a lot of, but you can find some IT security experts more easily than you find the OT security people. And if you consider that there are now so many companies affected by NIS2 that have to do something in this regard, also finding enough qualified people to actually implement the requirements from NIS2 is going to be a huge challenge. So for us as a larger company, it is still manageable, but for the many smaller manufacturers, it's really a huge challenge now to do that. What is also affecting us at the moment is implementing all the processes that are required by NIS2. You mentioned the reporting requirements, and if you're only running and operating in one country, that's, I would say, is okay. But if you're operating in like we do 20 countries of the EU, that means that you have 20 reporting lines, 20 different national cybersecurity authorities that you need to deal with, and also you have to register in 20 countries. So I would have preferred if NIS2 would have been a regulation that is the same in all the EU countries, and where you have one reporting line, for example, to the ENISA, the European Cybersecurity Agency. But unfortunately, it's with regard to NIS2, it's a different reporting line in every member state, and also the implementation laws in the different member states, they can slightly differ.
Thank you for explanation. It was a good question. And Tim, you provide some problems with risk management, governance, reporting. And for now, I have an interesting question for you. Now, you mentioned that you will describe us a threat-informed defense strategy, understanding context. Can you give us more information about it? I know there are some approaches like cyber kill chain, MITRE-ATT&CK approaches, starting from this idea. How do you apply this concept?
Okay. So threat-informed defense is a concept that was established by the MITRE Corporation, a think tank in the US. They run a so-called Center for Threat-Informed Defense, which is a partnership between the MITRE and some companies from the tech industry. Really big names like Microsoft are in there as well, and they promote a more threat-centered approach to improving your defenses. So if you look at most companies today, it's like where we have this castle, but all the guards that are on the walls of this castle, they are only looking inward. So we're seeing everything that happens within the networks, inside our networks, but we don't really look outside and see who's actually attacking us. And that is what threat-informed defense basically means. It means that you use all the cyber threat intelligence that you can get to see who is actually attacking you and why. That's the strategic part of it. And also the operational part, that means how are they attacking us? So the so-called TTP, the tactics, techniques, and procedures. And this, if you do it in a systematic way, will help you to prioritize your defense measures. So you can actually see if you should implement certain controls or prioritize certain controls on the mitigation side, or if you need extra detections to be able to detect these kind of attacks. And which is also part of the concept is that you test and evaluate it, so that you, for example, have a red team in your company, so people that do ethical pen testing within your company and actually use these techniques to attack your company and to test your controls. And I think that this is a very promising approach that will help us to be, have our focus on those controls that are actually the most important ones in the current threat situation, so that we actually defend ourselves against the threat actors that are currently operating out there and attacking us. Like for most manufacturing companies, all the different ransomware groups that are operating out there.
And thank you. And there is another thing. Nowadays, we are in AI transformation era. This technology affects us very dramatically, but I guess bad actors are smarter and faster than us in using new technologies. So it also creates new opportunities for them. And as you mentioned, creating new attack vectors. How do you assess now the threat landscape around us?
So actually, when we look at AI, we see, of course, that the attackers use Gen AI or large language models to become more efficient or more productive. Like they use LLMs to generate phishing emails, or they use it to optimize their malicious code. But we haven't really seen, at least not so far, haven't seen any new techniques really. So the old techniques that they have been using for ages become more efficient for the attackers. But it's not that we have seen any new kind of techniques that are solely based on AI. We see some voice cloning. We see, well, the beginning of deepfake attacks, but it's really, at the moment, it's still a niche thing. And for ransomware groups, for example, they still use the old techniques that they have been using for ages, and just use AI to be more efficient. And of course, we try the same. So we also use generative AI for routine
Predictive
tasks.
AI.
Yeah, and then we use it to be more efficient in our daily operations. Of course, we also have machine learning within our security systems, but that is actually something that's already there for many years.
Yes.
Not really the new thing. The new thing is really what comes with the large language models at the moment. And this will help both us, and of course also the attackers. So it's an arms race between us and the attackers.
Dan, what do you think? For example, now European legislation authorities creating new legislations. Do you think any connection with this constantly changing technology affects on our business, because we are now more dependent on technology and coming legislations? Are they bringing us no obstacles or problems for the business, like people like CISO, cybersecurity people, to comply with, or this legislation help us to as providing some baselines, security baselines, like NIST2? What do you think?
Well, I think that the aim or the goal of NIST2 is right. I mean, we need to be more cyber resilient, just because we are more dependent on digital technology. So I think that the aim is definitely right, to have a baseline where all the industry sectors that are within the scope of NIST2 need to comply with. I think you could discuss about the way how NIST2 was implemented. I already mentioned that I would have preferred a regulation that is homogeneous across all the EU member states. But if you look at the risk management measures that NIST2 mandates, then I mean, those definitely make sense for every company, even for those that are not within the scope of NIST2. They should implement risk management measures like the ones that NIST2 mandates. So that's I think it's a good thing. Yeah, it's more like making it easier for the companies to deal with the reporting requirements and so on. So that's my wish for legislators in Europe that they would take care more of these aspects of the regulation. But the regulation in itself is a good thing. And the same is also for the Cyber Resilience Act, for example, because I think it's important that when you provide digital products to your customers, they need to be secure by design and secure by default. And also the CISA in the US has a similar campaign to promote secure by design. So it absolutely makes sense. And since we're also using digital products, for us, it's also, I mean, it's a good thing if we can rely on the products that we use, that they are actually secure by design. Of course, if you're a manufacturer in the beginning, it's an extra obstacle because you need to take care of a lot of more requirements. But from the overall goal of the whole thing, I think it's a good approach.
Thank you. Demre, I guess you have some questions for Tim.
Yeah, I can ask a question about maybe like SMEs, because Tim, as a physicist, as a doctor, and also very active in like operation, right? We maybe touch too many big companies, maybe big operations, but there are SMEs, maybe more like middle-sized ones. How about their risks, and what about like NIS2 is in kind of more strict regulation if we compare with NIS, right? So I want to understand how they can affect from NIS2 for SME sites.
Yeah, I think for the SMEs, it's really a great challenge at the moment, because most of these companies, they have very small IT departments, maybe even have outsourced their whole IT to an IT service provider. Many of these companies have no internal security staff, or maybe there's one person who is the information security officer for the whole company, needs to deal with everything. And now they suddenly face these new requirements from NIS2. So for them, for many of them at least, it's a huge leap to become compliant with NIS2 regulation. So it starts with implementing a proper ISMS, proper information security risk management, because they may have the technical controls in place in many cases, but they have no real ISMS running, and especially in manufacturing. If you have smaller tech companies, then many of them may already have some of these aspects in place, but the smaller manufacturing companies, they're at the very beginning with this. And at the same time, we see that more and more of these smaller manufacturers are actually attacked by, for example, ransomware groups. Because also the ransomware groups, of course, have noticed that they have very weak defenses in many cases. And also these small companies are very important because they are sometimes single sourcing suppliers for larger companies. So if they fail, that sends a huge shockwave through the supply chain. And we have seen some of our suppliers being hacked, and it's a great issue. And what can you do? I mean, I think if I would run an SME today, I would basically see that I hire some security service providers out there, who will help me to deal with these things, because hiring my own security staff is very difficult. There's simply not enough qualified people on the market at the moment, and also upskilling your own staff will just take too long. The only way to deal with that is to hire security consultants, security service providers that will help you becoming compliant with NIS2, and also not only becoming compliant with NIS2, but actually protecting your company against the cyber attacks that are out there.
that's not budget friendly in every time, right?
Yeah, it's yeah. As I said, it's a huge challenge for them. I mean, organizations like ISACA, at least they offer training programs and so on. So at least try to address the skills shortage that is there. But of course, it will take long time to have enough skilled people out there.
For this context, the importance of ISACA team, because it's very important, because I'll provide some example. When I've been to Hamburg last year, maybe you remember, I came
Sure.
and made a speech about, yes, thank you for accepting my speech proposal. I spoke about crypto as service providers and using digital trust, and I noticed there was a huge interest for the NIST-oriented presentations. With as ISACA Germany, you help professionals to improve their understanding with this kind of professional presentations. I saw also ISACA Germany created or produced a lot of products like chapter-oriented or chapter-produced some documentations specifically about cybersecurity, resiliency. Can you provide some insights about ISACA Germany and ISACA's role in this kind of cyber resilience trainings or upskilling?
So our mission as a ISACA Germany chapter is to provide resources to our constituency that are really helping them to address the challenges that they face every day. And of course, for example, implementation of NIS2 could be one of them. So we have different ways how we address that. We have, as you mentioned, we have our annual conference where we have talks about all these topics like DORA, NIS2, and CRA, and so on. And it's not only the talks, of course. The main purpose of a conference is also to bring the people together, and networking, because I think it helps a lot if you can talk to people in other companies and see how they have addressed these challenges. So that's one thing. We also do webinars, for example, regular webinars. For example, also on NIS2 or DORA. And you can also find these webinars on YouTube in our ISACA Germany channel. Then we also have so-called expert groups on the chapter level for different topics. For example, for information security, for IT risk management, for AI, for cybersecurity, and many other topics.
And digital trust. I'm working with Christian from.
Okay, yeah, digital trust as well. Yeah. Also very interesting topic. And they are the ones that actually produce a lot of the content that we provide to our members, or also to non-members actually. For example, you mentioned the guidelines that we publish on all different topics. We have for example, we have published a guideline on the implementation of ISO 27001. So people who are known in implementation of ISO 27001 have compiled all the aspects that you need to take care of when you run such a project, and this guideline is available in German and English, and you can download it for free from our website, ISACA.de. So this is something that we want to give to the community and to help people to get the knowledge, get the skills that they need. We also offer training courses, of course. Something that of course, ISACA Global also does that, but we also have our own training courses on the national level, where we try to fulfill the demand that we see from our members.
Well, as we approach the end of today's podcast, I want to ask other key question. and to Tim, of course. I mean, what would you say is a single most important step for manufacturers can take today to enhance their cybersecurity posture? And looking ahead, what are the trends or technologies in cybersecurity excite you most right now?
I think actually, when I look at the attacks that we see out there, it's often the basic things that fail. So my advice would be to first look at the basics. So really get your basics right before you start with any fancy technological stuff. But you need to have a proper asset management. You need to know what you actually have in your IT environment. You need to have a proper vulnerability and patch management. So patch your systems, especially against the critical vulnerabilities. Have a proper network segmentation, I would say, is also a basic requirement, and manage your privileged identities. So if you have any weaknesses in any of these aspects, then that's something that you need to address first, because otherwise this is going to be what the attackers will use against you. And there's still many companies out there that haven't got their basics right yet. So that's the starting point. And before you haven't done that, you should not really look into the new fancy technologies that may come, because even the best EDR solution or XDR solution out there can be bypassed by the attackers. If they obtain higher privilege in your environment, they can basically just also switch off all the nice security technology that you have in place. So that's really the most important aspect. For the future, what I see is, well, of course, we will see more, I think, AI-based applications in the cybersecurity space, but they're not going to be the silver bullet that will solve all our problems. I think more like they will make us more efficient. For example, they will help the security analysts and the security monitoring staff become more efficient to really see the most important artifacts in all the data that is out there, and also to be more efficient in the response to cyber attacks. But it's not going to be like that. That AI will solve everything for us. So it still needs the people, and yeah. So that's also the other challenge: find the right people, and also not only find them, but also offer them an environment that makes them stay in your company. Because we need the skilled people there. Otherwise, all the technology will not help us. It's people, process, technology. So people comes first, and then it's process, and then it's technology. Technology is always the last step.
Thank you. It was a great explanation. We all talk about technology, process, and people, and nowadays, people. The importance of people is obvious, because this is sometimes the weakest chain, the weakest chain or strongest chain saving the company. Thank you, Tim, for your attendance today. It was great to host you. Demre, do you have any question? Any other question?
Well, I don't have a question right now. Thank you, Tim, for your attendance again. Today, a key point we discuss is how important implementation is, right? So it's not just about writing policies, but making sure they're put into practice across all systems, from IT to operations, of course. And especially important for industries like manufacturing, where interconnected systems and supply chains can create unique risks. And also implementation can be more than a challenge. So hire right people is a challenge. So working teams together is create a big opportunity. Vetting process can be solution. Also, like build stronger relationships with partners, like from from top to below. So I can say that thank you again, Tim and Gokhan, for joining us again. And you shared your invaluable insights. Today's episode was packed with actionable strategies and forward-thinking ideas. And I think our listeners also will find incredibly valuable today's episode. And to our audience, if you have like questions and thoughts, please feel free to drop them in the comments or reach out through our social media channels. And until next time, stay secure and stay innovative.